What's up, guys? It's Ty here, and today I am going to show you guys my 2019-2020 season predictions for the NBA. So, free agency is, for the most part, over. The big moves are mostly, concluded. The only one that I could see to really change, the league a little bit would be Chris Paul, but it's not really the same as it would have, a couple years back. He is 33 years old now, and it's really, that say is to move to Miami, and I mean, in my opinion, if he went to Miami, it wouldn't really, where I have him in the Eastern Conference, it wouldn't really change it too much. It would change the Thunder, though, but I'm doing that, just saying that Chris Paul stays in Oklahoma City. I'm taking the risk, but, he hasn't been traded yet, and I'm doing this now because, most of the teams are kind of set concrete. But guys, I did this 2 years ago and it went over pretty well, so I'm going to try to do the same thing this year. We're going to start this video with the Eastern Conference and then the Western Conference. So also, before I move on, these are my opinions. These are my thoughts on where I think each team is going to finish in the Eastern and Western Conference. Not saying this is going to happen. These are just my thoughts, opinions, remember. So remember that in the comment section, like, you're an idiot. Like, it's like, relax. It's like you are entitled to your own opinion, I'm entitled to mine. So, just, wanted to clarify that, throw out that disclaimer. And now, without further ado, let's jump into the video. So guys, the team that will finish last in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, will be the Charlotte Hornets. Now, I feel like this is going to be the popular pick to finish last in the league. They had Kemba Walker last season. I believe they finished 10th or 9th, around there. And yeah, they lose Kemba Walker. They sign Terry Rozier. Yeah, Terry Rozier is not Kemba Walker in any stretch of the imagination. This team without them, it was just carried by Kemba. Without them, they are kind of like nothing really. Nicholas Batum is getting up there in age on an albatross contract. Miles Bridges could have himself a great year this season. Could have a breakout year, in my opinion. Marvin Williams is getting up there in age, and Cody Zeller is just kind of an average player. Their bench, PJ Washington really is the ticket item here on the bench. He was their 12th overall pick this year's draft, and he'll turn out to be a pretty good player, but his production will not be shown until, later on in his career, or at least, in a couple of years. The Charlotte Hornets, this year is just going to be a year where you just forget, you just hope the season goes quick, and, you're on to the next one, and hopefully there's greener pastures on the other side. But I think the Charlotte Hornets will finish 15th in the Eastern Conference. I have the Cleveland Cavaliers finishing just ahead of the Hornets in 14th. They drafted Darius Garland out of Vanderbilt with the 6th or 5th overall pick, and they're pairing him up with Colin Sexton. That's going to be the backcourt duo here. Basically, Kevin Love is going to be the big reason why this team, just squeaks ahead of the Hornets. Last season, 17 points, 10.9 rebounds. He's still playing really well in 27 minutes per game. He's getting up there in age, though. He is 30, so he's starting to get a little bit older. They also have Seti. I cannot say the name. It's not Seti Osman. It's not that. I apologize. But last season he had 13 points per game in 32.2 minutes, so not too bad. 4.7 points. Shot 35% from the 3-point line. So he's a solid player, and he's quite young. He's only 24 years old, so he could develop as well. Whittler was one of their first-round picks. He could be someone to improve quite nicely. And then Kevin Porter Jr. Brandon Knight, not know Brandon Knight was on this team. Brandon Knight, they have J.R. Smith. I didn't know that either. But Kevin Porter Jr. was a rookie they drafted. He could turn out to be a decent player. People are trying to say, like, this is one of the steals of the draft. It doesn't even show where he was drafted. I believe he was in the first round. I don't know why they're not showing that. But he could be, someone who could blossom here for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But, this frontcourt or backcourt duo will be nice in the future, but not enough too far. Last year they're 19 and 63. It's not going to make a big jump this season. I have them 14th. The 13th team in the Eastern Conference will be the Chicago Bulls, in my opinion. Now, this is kind of a tough pick for me. I think Chicago has the chance to really break out this season, but I also think they probably will not. Their starting point guard Thomas Satoransky, not a bad player in any stretch. But starting point guard material, I don't know. Chris Dunn, Chris Dunn I think it was 4th overall pick. He'd be better than what he actually is. Yeah, he's only, give me 8.9 points. He's not starting point guard material. He's not a bad player, don't get me wrong, but it's just not what you want out of your starting guy. Chris Dunn really needs to start blossoming into something better. 5th overall pick in 2016, and he's already 25, so he's not getting any younger, even though he is quite young. But you know what I mean. He was a rookie just a couple years back. Otto Porter Jr. there at small forward. He's been a solid player after being labeled a bust early in his career, but he's now become a solid player. Lauri Markkanen and Wendell Carter Jr. are 2 players that have the chance to really step up. I mean, Lauri Markkanen has the potential to be one of the best players, one of the best players in the league, honestly. He's only 22 years old. He had 18.7 points per game with 9 rebounds in 32 minutes, shooting 36% from the three-point line. So he is very, very good. And then Wendell Carter is also another corner piece for them. Chicago Bulls do have the chance to jump some of the teams that are ahead of them. And they also have Kobe White, their 7th overall pick of this year's draft. Out of North Carolina, he could be a solid player. I think he should be the starting point guard, in my opinion, over Thomas Satoransky, and then just flop these like whoop. That's what I think. That's what's gonna happen. And I mean, they could finish 11th or 12th, but I couldn't see them getting any higher than that. But this Chicago Bulls team will finish 13th, in my opinion. Finishing just ahead of them, I have the Washington Wizards. Now, this might come as a surprise because they're without John Wall, but John Wall will be back. I mean, I don't think he'll be back by the beginning of the season, but he will be back a month or 2 later. So him and Bradley Beal will be paired up again, and Bradley Beal will make sure this team is not in dead last. And John Wall will just get him more wins than like the Bulls could have, Roy Hachimura, the 9th overall selection of this year's draft. I mean, people have been saying this is a bust. I think he'll be all right. I mean, I don't know if he should be, thrusted into the starting role right now, but honestly, with the squad they have right now, they kind of have to. And I mean, he's going to be solid, with all the minutes he's going to get, but I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy, nothing to catapult this team near the playoffs or anything like that. And Thomas Bryant really starting to pan out here. It's like a round pick 2 years ago, but last season had 10.5 points, 6.3 rebounds in 21 minutes a game. Kind of starting to blossom into something nice and decent here, some nice little player here. So that could be something they could build around as well. I mean, maybe not to build around, but to have like a nice piece to a puzzle. Thomas Bryant could be something like that. Other bench, obviously they got IT, Davis Bertans, really not Isaac Bonga, but then again John Wall. But that's really the Wizards team. I mean, they're nothing too flashy, but Bradley Beal will will this team into the 12th position in the Eastern Conference. Hey, look, it's the New York Knicks, the Knickerbockers. Look at them. There they are at 11th in the Eastern Conference. They could honestly finish 10th or 9th, in my opinion, if they could, but they could also finish 12th or 13th. I don't know really where to put this Knicks team. I mean, obviously, they drafted RJ Barrett with the 3rd overall selection, and they signed Julius Randle for 3 years, $63 million a year, which was a great addition for the team. They have a solid team, especially on paper. They have a solid team. Dennis Smith Jr., RJ Barrett, Kevin Knox, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. On the bench, I got a solid backup point guard in Elfrid Payton. Alonzo Trier has really started to, turn into something nice. Was he undrafted, wasn't he? Or was he? He was undrafted. That's why I thought I remember him not being drafted. He had himself 11 points per game last season. Marcus Morris from the Celtics had himself a nice year last year, and he's going to be a great piece off the bench. The team has the potential to kind of just miss the playoffs. I don't think they can make the playoffs yet, but they could have the potential to do that. But they also could have the potential to just sit here at 11 where I have them, because I don't think all the gears are going to turn this year, but next year is the year I would really watch out for this Knicks team. But I have them at 11th. Now this is going to shock most of you. This is probably in the comment section going to get a lot of flack. I have the Atlanta Hawks finishing 10th over that New York Knicks team. I mean, looking at it, I'm like, maybe I should change this, but no, I'm sticking with my gut. I think this core of Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and I guess Alex Len, even though I'd rather not have Alex Len there, with Cam Reddish and now Jabari Parker. I mean, I think this is going to be a team that really surprised a lot of teams. Trae Young last season, in his rookie season, 31 minutes per game, had 19.1 points with 8.1 rebounds, which was 7th best in the league in his first season. And I think he's really going to make the jump next season, along with a supporting cast of Kevin Huerter. And then John Collins was also another player who really took a big jump last season. 19.5 points per game, 9.8 rebounds, almost averaged a total-double in 30 minutes total per game. Shot 35% from the three-point line. He's going to turn into something nice this year as well. I mean, this team is just going to turn into something really, really good. DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish are also going to be 2 players, 2 rookies, 4th and 10th pick respectively of this year's draft, are going to help catapult them into this 10th spot. I mean, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, and I have the Atlanta Hawks finishing 10th. I have the Detroit Pistons being the team to just miss out on the playoffs. Tone, if you're listening to this, I am so sorry, but I don't think the Detroit Pistons are going to make the playoffs, so they're going to finish 9th in the Eastern Conference. I mean, obviously, look at Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond. Those are the two players that are really going to will this team into. I mean, they made it to the playoffs last year, but this time they're going to fall just short. With Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, who might have himself a good season, and then Tony Snell is just not starting small forward material. Ko Doumbouya, he could turn into something kind of nice if he develops. He should play the more small forward role, as they don't really have many players there. But I mean, really this team is just Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson. But nothing too flashy here. But they're gonna be the team that just miss out on the playoffs. So the team I think will finish 8th in the Eastern Conference and make the playoffs are the Orlando Magic. They were the 7th seed in the playoffs last year, and I think they're just going to scooch down just one spot to 8. I think Jonathan Isaac, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Vucevic are going to get even better this year. Now, Vucevic had himself a great year last year. Had 20.8 points per game, 12 rebounds, and 3.8 assists. I mean, really only 2 assists. He had 1.1 blocks. It was all in 31.4 minutes per game. And, I mean, he had himself a very solid year last year. Obviously, the playoffs didn't play too good, but, what did you expect in that playoff series? Aaron Gordon and Jonathan Isaac are also two young pieces that I think will make the jump this year. Accompanied with the 6th overall pick of last year's draft, Mohamed Bamba, whatever you want to say. And maybe they'll even get some direction from Markelle Fultz, who was the first overall selection of the 2017 draft, which is just, this is one of the weirdest stories right here. But I think this Orlando Magic team, they keep their same team basically. When they add Al-Farouq Aminu, they add Michael Carter-Williams, which is an okay player, and I think this team's gonna make the playoffs in my opinion. I have the Miami Heat finishing 7th in the Eastern Conference solely because of Jimmy Buckets. So obviously everyone knows that Jimmy Butler was traded to the Miami Heat, but they lost Josh Richardson, but they get Jimmy Butler, so that's kind of a better move. They also have Goran Dragic, who's been there for the long haul, Justice Winslow, Kelly Olynyk, and Bam Adebayo, who had himself a nice second year, looking to have himself a even better third year. Off the bench, really the big name here is Tyler Hero, who has been going off in the Summer League. Now, just because you go off in the Summer League doesn't mean you're going to go off in the NBA, but that is a good thing to see him playing really well in the Summer League, so he'll be a great piece off the bench. Obviously not substituting for Jimmy Butler, but they'll figure out how to get him in. And this Miami Heat team kind of just relies on Jimmy Butler. If he gets hurt or something like that, this team does not make the playoffs. I think the Miami Heat will finish 7th in the Eastern Conference. Finishing 6th in the Eastern Conference, this may come as a surprise, but it is the defending NBA champions, the Toronto Raptors. Everyone knows what happened to them. They lost Kawhi Leonard. You lose Kawhi Leonard, you lose positioning in the conference. I mean, it's just kind of simple. I mean, he was so vital to this team, like vital. And now Spicy P. It's now Spicy P, Kyle Lowry, and Marcus Gasol, really the three main people on this team, with Serge Ibaka, but they don't have any depth. They only have 10 players rostered as of this moment right now. Fred VanVleet, obviously, great player off the bench. I mean, they're still going to be a good team, but I just think without them and without that depth, they just won't be able to do it. It's Kyle Lowry's team now, but I can see it. I mean, pretty soon it's going to be Spicy P's, Pascal Siakam's team, in my opinion, who had himself a phenomenal second season last year and really showed his talents to the world on the biggest stage. But guys, I mean, I think the Raptors are going to finish 6th in the Eastern Conference after winning the NBA championship. Finishing just ahead of them, I have the Indiana Pacers at 5. I mean, I'm always high on the Indiana Pacers, in my opinion. Obviously, they don't have Victor Oladipo, but it said he'll be back in around December, so this team will keep the seat warm. They're not going to be at 5th by the time Oladipo when he gets back, but they'll probably be hovering around the 8-9, and then, or not even 8-9, probably like the 7-8, and then with Oladipo, that'll catapult them right into the 5th or maybe even the 4th spot. But I mean, they signed Malcolm Brogdon from the Milwaukee Bucks, which is a great addition for the team. Even Jeremy Lamb too had himself, I think it was like 15.5 points last year. So there's Jeremy Lamb. TJ Warren they acquired from the Phoenix Suns for draft pick, that was a bad trade, honestly. Domantas Sabonis, who is a nice power forward who's very young, and then Miles Turner, for the time being, will be the center of, he is the center of this team. I meant the centerpiece of this team. Let's just look at his stats last season, but also before we move on, their bench is decent. It's nothing crazy, but Oladipo will come back soon, and when he comes back, this team will be quite scary. Last year, 13.3 points per game. 7.2 I think he had a better season last year. 7.2 rebounds. I mean, not bad, not good, but again, 2.7 blocks. That's a very good defensive player last season. But yeah, I mean, I think he's only 23 years old, so I think he's going to take the jump this season. And this Indiana Pacers team, in my opinion, are going to finish 5th. At 4th in the Eastern Conference, we have the Brooklyn Nets, and everybody knows the story of the Brooklyn Nets. They got Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Jordan this offseason. Now, they're not going to have Kevin Durant probably for the entirety of next season, but the season following, they will be a scary, scary team in the Eastern Conference. But for this year, obviously they have Kyrie Irving starting at point guard. I think they're going to slide Spencer Dinwiddie to the shooting guard. I think they'll slide Karis LeVert to the small forward. And then I think they're going to actually start Rodion Kurucs, and then they're going to have DeAndre Jordan start at the center position. Theo Pinson will probably be the backup point guard, with Joe Harris being the backup, or with the Garrett Temple being the backup shooting guard, then Joe Harris backup small forward, Taurean Prince backup power forward, Jared Allen the backup center. Now, Jared Allen, I don't know. I mean, Jared Allen is a solid player. I don't know. I really like him as a player. He could start. He could find himself in the starting center role, but, as a backup, he could also be quite great as well. But, I mean, this team is quite solid. They have the depth as well. I mean, I think they're not going to win the ship this year, but next year could be heavy title favorites. But I have them finishing 4th in the Eastern Conference. Finishing 3rd in the Eastern Conference, I have the Boston Celtics, who last year had themselves quite a down year to most people. Kemba Walker and Enes Kanter. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, Enes Kanter is not Al Horford, but Kemba Walker is Kyrie Irving, essentially. I mean, I'd still say Kyrie's a tad better, but I think Kemba's going to be a better team player, in my opinion. I think Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown coming into his 4th season, Tatum coming into his 3rd. Tatum did not play as well as he did in his rookie year, but I think he has a bounce-back year, in my opinion, and really shows his value once again. Gordon Hayward also has himself a bounce-back year, as last year, recovering from his injury back in 2017. But, I mean, on paper, this lineup is great. Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, Tatum, and even Enes Kanter, I think is a solid player. Not a good defense. This team is not very good defensively at all. But minus Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart off the bench is one of the best defenders in the league. Have Romeo Langford, who they drafted with their 14th overall pick this year. Carson Edwards is going to be a good backup point guard, in my opinion. Grant Williams, their 3rd string power forward, could be nice. He was their 22nd overall pick. Yeah, guys, I think this Boston Celtics team is going to finish 3rd in the East. The penultimate team in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, will be the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I know. They are the trendy pick to win the East, maybe even to win the NBA Finals. On paper, they are the best team in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. But just because it's on paper doesn't mean it's actually going to happen in real life. This team, Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson, they lose Jimmy Butler, but get Josh Richardson, which is, it's fine. He's not, Jimmy Butler in any stretch, but he's a very solid player. Tobias Harris, they get Al Horford, and Joel Embiid. Now, this team, Embiid, Harris, and Simmons were there last year, but Richardson and Horford were not. And I think the Horford and Embiid situation, that's going to be kind of sticky at the beginning of the year. I think this team actually is going to start out slow, and then they're really going to turn it on towards the end once they get the chemistry going. But I don't think this team is going to be the best team in the East, solely because of those beginning chemistry issues, in my opinion. It's going to take some time for them to gel, but once they do, and they get their game going, they're going to be the best team in the East, kind of, in my opinion. But, these are regular season predictions. I think the Sixers are going to turn on the playoffs. I actually think they'll probably win the Eastern Conference, but for the regular season, they will finish 2nd. So, obviously, if you've been paying attention, you're going to know who the first team is. So, the team I think that's going to finish at the top of the Eastern Conference will be the Milwaukee Bucks. Last season, obviously, they were the best team in the NBA, and they won the East last year, and I think they're going to win the East again. On paper, they are a great team. They are just a great team. Eric Bledsoe, they add Wesley Matthews on a cheap deal, who's not bad, but he is a solid player, and he will play that role quite nicely. Chris Middleton, they re-signed this season. Obviously, Giannis Antetokounmpo after his MVP season. And Brook Lopez off the bench. Their bench took a little bit of a hit. There's Robin Lopez, Ersan Ilyasova, George Hill they keep. There's Dante DiVincenzo. The bench depth it's good, but it's not great. But again, this team they've kept majority of their players last year. The only player they lost was Malcolm Brogdon, which is a big hit. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to. They didn't ruin really their core players too much. Obviously, they lose Giannis, or they didn't lose Chris Middleton, which would have been a big loss. But, I mean, Giannis is going to will this team to the best team in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. And they have the chemistry, and I think they're going to repeat as Eastern Conference champions. But, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments. What do you think of my Eastern Conference predictions? Do you think any team should be higher, lower? Do you think they're just right? I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want about everything down in the comments. I want to hear your opinions. Make sure you comment your lists of where you think people are going to finish in the Eastern Conference. And that's all I have for you. I'll see you guys in the Western Conference video, which will probably be uploaded shortly after this one. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. Later.